All right. Good morning, everyone. Dan here with tradingology.com in the trading room for July 27th, 2021. And I believe we're going to be solo today. Dave is busy with some family in town. So you guys got me. Hopefully I'll keep you entertained. Check out some what's going on in the market here and answer any questions you got. So let me know if you can not hear me or see me funny. I have a little bit different office setup cooking. So let me know if the volume's working good for you guys and throw it in the chat. And we'll start taking a look at what we got going on here today. You guys know we always do look at internals. So we're starting out on a negative bias for the day for sure. Internals opened up close to negative 1500, starting to make a little recovery, but we're still below negative 1000 on the internal. So definitely a negative bias as well as the volume matching. One thing that was very interesting last week, I think it was Thursday. Let me pull back over Thursday in case you guys didn't see this. Either Thursday or was Wednesday. Let me see. Let's see. There was one where it was the opposite. Here's Thursday. Thursday was negative. And, or was it Friday? It's probably Friday. Yeah, there we go. Friday was very odd activity to happen because we had positive advancing declining issues. So there was more issues were going up, but the volume was all negative all day. Dave was trying to remember, maybe he'd seen this a handful of times, count them on one hand, that he's seen this actually happen. So really odd setup to the market that day last Friday. So we wanted to make sure I called that out since we hadn't spoke since then, where it opened up pretty positive, close to 1500 above for advancing declining issues, dropped right off close to the zero line, but then was pretty consistently improving all day long, but yet the volume was going down. So the majority of volume was down. So it was very light volume going into the upside issues. I think this is the first time I've ever seen that. So that's a very odd anomaly and how that came down. The other part that didn't make any sense that day was price was going up and all of the, like we're mentioning here, the volume was all going down, all of the short term. So I don't want to say it's straight up manipulation, but it was definitely an odd day in the markets on Friday where it should have been calculated differently. Now we have this week. Yesterday was pretty close to flat line. Not a lot going on yesterday. We had some chop. But now today we see we opened up negative. The issues are coming back up, but we are still pretty negatively biased for the volume. So there's more volume coming in. No crossovers yet here. I know, Andre, you were talking about those last week, so keep an eye on that. But we do see one thing I did notice as well is VIX is making some higher lows again. We had a big spike back on the 19th, making higher highs. So the VIX is getting higher. Is this going to spike again close to 30? We will see. One other thing to keep an eye on, where it hit that level down here at that 15 and it bounced off it, never closed below it. And we're continuing to make higher lows and higher highs since then. And as everyone knows, the biggest headlines is, Delta variant. We do leverage. Tom, you're here. I believe you probably followed the rules where you're not long on the NQ. We had some interesting movement, major expansion happening right now. It's actually almost down to that lowest person pivot level. So there was a small little scalp I took earlier, but now that we're expanding, that one's off the table for me today, unless it completely changes its tune later. But not trading the NQ right now or MNQ. That's down over 1% right now. ES is down 0.5%. YM's down 0.37%. And the biggest loser of all, the RTY, almost 1.5% right now. So let's take a look at the indexes that go with that. I started switching over back to the shorter time frames because I hadn't looked at it for a while on the indexes themselves with the other market timer indicators. So today we see definitely bearish sentiment where we have the scorecards 10-1, bears versus bulls, and buy sell signals definitely a -1. The Dow has recovered slightly back from the big drop it took at the open, but it is getting negative once again. We see full bearish herding on the short term, as well as negative supply demand, negative strength. But the NQ is definitely weaker than the YM at this point, which we see it's farther down. And the ES may have a little bounce coming back here. So one thing to remember that I hadn't done in a while, if you are looking to do more intraday trading and you want to leverage the index scripts at the same time, this is a great way to do that. Drop down into the 5 or 10 minute time frames, and you can see what's happening there where you see the activity happen. Here's where we were talking about on Friday, is we had the big spike right at the open. There was no bullish herding whatsoever all day, not a single green dot painted in here. Bearish herding was fading. It was strong at the very open, or shortly right after that quick spike. But then it did nothing but fade all day. And we see the supply demand was negative, strength index was negative, all these things were negative, but yet price was going up. Yeah, we had a couple drop-offs, but at the end we had that major rally, which none of that made sense. So Dave and I actually looked at dropping in a couple shorts over the weekend to hold on the YM. Dave actually was able to get in. Believe it or not, I missed my entry by literally 1 tick. I had it set at, first I was going to do 35,000 right on the nose. And then I saw 35 wasn't going to hit, so I moved it down to like 34,993, and it went to 992. So then as we opened up yesterday, because we're like, this is not normal, we saw that inverse issues and volume happening didn't add up. All these indicators that should have been going lower, but yet price was going up. So I was like, no, this is not going to hold. We were not, had no faith in it. Then we saw this morning, or excuse me, yesterday morning when it opened up. If I shoot back the YM, so here's where it closed. Got to go back to Friday. So here's the 35,000. I was looking to get a short right at 35, big round number there. I put it right in here. Tosh showed, it was interesting because Thinkorswim showed 993, and TradingView where, oh, I saw you in the door there, Andre. Sorry, I grabbed you. TradingView actually showed 992. So the high here shows 34,993. I literally had my order set at 993. I was being very picky on where I wanted my entry, which is good to do. I didn't want to chase the trade down. It was right at the close. Dave did get in. I think he was in at 980. So I told him I was going to wait for 35,000 because I was going to try and be slick. Well, me trying to be slick didn't get in the trade. He was able to leverage it. Shortly after the close, it did move down. I was like, yep, you're already down. But then when trading did open up again Sunday evening, it barely came up, never broke that again. But we see it did trade all the way down to, I think it was 34.7. Yeah, it even broke the low 34.7. So 300 ticks that thing moved. So yes, that was in the middle of the morning or the middle of the night, 3 a.m. my time where it got that low. So am I watching? No, I'm not. I could have absolutely had a target set. I probably wouldn't have waited until 300 ticks because I usually take off trades sooner than that. But that was a beautiful setup because none of that made sense for how it was setting up. That was a huge move in the middle of the night. Absolutely, Andre. Look how it recovered after that. Then people finally woke up. They saw, holy cow, look at what happened. Then during the day, we had some major volatility right at the open again. But yeah, that was a huge trade. Capitalized on that anomalies. And that's the biggest thing we look for is what are the anomalies? It's not always, hey, this says price signal says it's going up, take a long, but it's when these guys don't add up to what the market is doing, that's when we stand up and say, hey, something's odd here. This is an anomaly and we can use this to our advantage. That's where going short. I tried to go short on both the ES and the YM. I failed to make my entries. There'll be another day. Look at the NDX, is just falling apart right now. Full bearish herding still in there. and is getting weaker, -13 now in the strength index. So keep your eye on that. Trade very cautiously and wisely if you choose to. The other part that we were looking at, as I should mention, is the market timer spreadsheet, looking at where we were at on numbers. So Friday's close, we were still 113% on empty volatility, huge empty volatility number. And yeah, we had this 478, so we knew there was probably going to be a bounce because there was a major price anomaly indicating. So that's why you can leverage the futures versus having to wait until the market opens, because yes, that's exactly where we saw this bounce happen. Did it go up 478 exactly? Not this time, but it was up, triple digits from where it opened. So it definitely gave us a clue that there was going to be extra volatility, but it was most likely still going to stay to the downside, because here's the other part. We had a Dow increase of 238, no bullish hurting whatsoever. That's another anomaly. If the market moves up that high, and look at the index here, -7. So that's where we see the selling come in. So that's looking at the charts. This is where that algorithm comes into play. Is we had an advance and we had selling. That doesn't add up. So when you have selling on an advance, and we called it out in the notes over here, that is a clue to say something is afoot. No bullish hurting. We had some late bearish hurting still. We had full earlier, but now it's kind of fading. So the bears were going away. The swing signal had switched over, but yet this should not happen the way it did. So that was another signal. Hey, this is bad, or this is setting up for bad things to happen, where you can still enter the futures since it does trade after the bell, and these numbers come in right around the bell. We can see these paint. So I could have got, had I not been trying to be greedy on my entry, which I still like. I don't want to chase a trade, whether it's going long or short, but I'm especially not going to chase a trade to the short side if I'm looking for a good entry. So kudos to Dave on that one. He got in, I didn't. He missed it, or I missed it. He got it, but I will look for the next anomaly happening. But that was another big clue there, is major advances. We had selling and high volatility. Yesterday, we're up at 117. So empty volatility is still increasing, which leads to what we're seeing today. Let me pull up the NQ spreadsheet at the same time, since we are seeing more volatility on that side. Let me grab the NASDAQ spreadsheet, open that up. Andre, if you did see in the Slack channel, you were asking about the Fibonacci tool last week. I did drop a link to a video where we covered that. So check that out. If you have more questions, let me know, and I can go deeper on it. NASDAQ, we actually hit 100 again on Friday. And yesterday we're at 104. So that was putting on the warning bells. We got rising empty volatility in the NASDAQ as well. Tech has been holding on stronger, but today we see that empty volatility is coming into play, where it's been nothing but down since the open. Full bearish hurting that we had mentioned. So that's how we're putting together all these indicators. All right, let's see what else we got cooking. Yeah, look at the NQs right there. So that potentially is an entry spot there, but I would wait for, Tom knows exactly what we should wait for. Wait for a break on this. There's a lot of room in here now. Nothing but negativity on the SM price signals here too. So it'd be nice to see that go back to the green before anybody attempted along on that one. Wait for a break here. The Qs are going down. The Qs are at the lowest level as well for the ETFs. So these are the person pivot levels, if you guys don't remember, where they can be support levels and we can see turns happen, where the ES is only still up at the top one, the first one, but the NQ is much weaker right now. We're almost 200 points down in the futures contracts itself. All right, let's get the YM back to live. If my microphone gets funny at all, please let me know, guys. Tom, you're awfully quiet. Andre says, which channel did you put the Fib video into? It's on the, it's in the members area, and it's also in the YouTube channel. If you just search for Fibonacci, you will see it. And the link, oh, sorry, which channel in Slack? It is in the Tradingology chat, the one for everybody. So the main chat. You'll see the big the splash screen. I'll bring it over for you here. how to use the Fibonacci tool. There you go. Just to quickly look to one thing I don't have, let me open up my calendar. See if we have anything interesting that's going to happen this Tuesday. I think there was some, you got it, perfect. You're welcome, Andre, happy to help there. Let me grab our calendar here and see if we have interesting events to potentially watch for. Durable goods, manufacturing, consumer confidence. Here's one I did see on Bloomberg. Came out at 9 o'clock this morning. Confidence is higher than expected. It rose unexpectedly is the way they're doing the headline. So that's an interesting one. You know, the economies, everyone's talking about things slowing down more, but yet confidence is going up. So there's another slight anomaly if you want to think about it that way too. So we'll see. Tomorrow we got a FOMC statement coming out. I doubt they're going to make any changes on the federal funds rate. You know, if they did, that would be very interesting, but I don't expect to see anything change there. Most likely they'll stay at near the zero line. Unemployment claims are expected to be back at 375, so we will revisit that on Thursday. But yeah, Dow's sliding. Well, it's got to slide, say, for the first time in 6 days. Well, things can't go up forever. You know, we need to have retracements, we need to have pullbacks. So this is just what's needed there. All right. Tom, you got any questions floating for me out there? I know you've been helpful for many things. You're probably waiting for an entry on the NQ over there, but it's one thing for days like this, what I call the major expansion days. Be very cautious. Make sure you're trading within your rules, because those stops can be bigger than expected because of those expansion days. If you're in anything, I would say probably don't wait entirely for the target to get hit. Just take your profit off when you hit your profit goal for the day. I did a very quick trade. It was back, let me pull it up over here. It was literally at 9 o'clock on the top of the hour. Andre's asking, do you think we'll have a VXX trade tomorrow? Let me pull over that chart. Potentially. We'll see what Wednesday brings. It's moving up right now, obviously. We did have a couple trades on earlier this week. I didn't put one on, or excuse me, we did put one on last week, but I actually made an error on it, but it didn't hurt us. And we had a nice move down. Let's see, last Wednesday was the 21st. That was right here. We actually had a trade on, opened up, and it moved down immediately. Since I made an error on that entry, I closed it out for profits, and we were also able to close out the trade from 2 weeks prior, which was on the 7th, which happened right before this big spike. So this is one good thing about the VXX trade is, yes, the trade went against us, but we were patient and it came back for profits. So we closed both of them. So we might be seeing another peak here. We'll revisit that tomorrow. Depends on what's cooking during the day. I may or may not be able to get to one, but we'll definitely look at it. Tom says, not at the moment. I don't think I'll take that NQ. Yeah, exactly. It is not a normal day. I don't know if we ever have normal days anymore. And glad you're able to at least multitask, Tom. So as you know, always hit us up with questions if you got them. And we're getting close to the top of the hour, so we'll be wrapping her up shortly here. Let me see if there's anything that I'm missing. There was I'm going to pull up a FinViz screener probably Thursday. I was going to get it ready for today, but I didn't have my little setup. It's another interesting way of looking for stocks. That's one thing I'm starting to do too, because there's been so much money going into the ETFs, whether it's through hedge funds or just, you know, everybody moving to that, where I think they're kind of over bought as well, just like the majority of the market. I'm starting to revisit more one-off stock potential picks, looking for winners to go into addition to not just the beaten up stock, but just stock things where you can look for good gains on those on individuals versus relying on the ETFs, because we know we're so overly extended across the markets that I think there's less probabilities in trading those ETFs versus picking some stocks. So I'm looking for ways of helping you guys with maybe picking some stocks either to pull some options on or just individually lower price stocks. So, 25, 50, those lower price stocks is what I'm looking at. Nothing, no high flyers, no Amazons or Teslas, but I'm looking at ways where you can actually see where some of those short float is. So I'll be pulling that up for you. Should have that ready for Thursday. So look for that on Thursday and different ways of picking up stocks. There might be something we'll introduce to the members if possible, if we can put together the mechanics for it. Andre says, since it is looking like it's going down, the VXX will be going up. It's not that it's more risky, but yeah, there is a potential for a long. I don't have the spreadsheet ready for that one because I hadn't kept it completely updated. I was just more, I know Dave made the VXX spreadsheet for showing the power of it over time, and I don't continue to update it. Completely honest, I've never taken a long trade on it because it always works for the short trades is what I found. Just be patient and they do come back just the way they do crush the VXX and the VIX. The content for that will probably go on the real-time update service, Andre. That's something I'm working with Dave and the Strong Market team for putting in there. So look for it to be in there. And if anybody watching this after the fact doesn't know where that is, just shoot an email to the team over at Strong Market at support@strongmarket.com and they can give you the info for the real-time update service. That's most likely where that's going to go. And the nice thing about that one is it won't be short-term. It's not going to be, hey, if you missed it by a half an hour, you're out. It's not like trading futures. It's more of here's where this stock is going to be. Get into it tomorrow, sometime during the day, and then we'll send out exit signals, whether it's for stops or profit gains. So that's where that's going to be going. Is most likely it'll be a partnership we have with Strong Market and their real-time update service. And I was going to say, let's see, it was right at 9 o'clock. Let me move back over that futures trade because it was a very short scalp I took. That's one thing that I do like. Yeah, so most likely we'll start out with the stocks and versus options, but it depends on how you want to leverage it. Some people will be able to just buy some calls. It'll depend on each one. I don't want to promise that before I look into all the mechanics on it too, but I'm going to keep it lower price stocks so it can be literally just buying the stocks versus having to use leverage. That is one thing that I don't like doing as well. So last look at the NQ was at the top of the hour. It was literally, I should have just went short on it and rode this all the way down. But yeah, I think I grabbed a little bounce. That's where it was at the top. And I said, nope, trading room's coming. I'm not going to stay in this. So I literally got in and out. And then the major expansion started. So it was when this was still kind of going sideways here. That's where I grabbed that short in Q trade. Does that help, Andre? Does it make sense? Or you can always, we'll talk more in the Slack channels when it comes out. It's still really early. It's new, but look for that coming. It'll probably be a couple weeks till we start looking at them. All right, awesome. You're welcome. All right, we're getting close to a wrap here, so I'll probably call it a day. Let me know if there's anything you guys need in the meantime. And registration will be opening soon for the high-level mentoring. We are very close. I know I didn't make my early target of last week. Depends on how old. I don't even use, everything I use for Slack is free. We don't have a paid subscription. So I don't even know if you could get a paid subscription, go back. That's nothing I've ever actually tested. But you should be able to scroll back thousands of messages. I mean, it should still go back like 6 months. So let me know if you're not seeing things. But yeah, we use free Slack channels. One person did make the comment of moving over to Discord. If there's some reason that we would want to look at that, we would entertain it. Very similar to the chat groups. Yeah. If you want to go back to forever, you do. I think I have to buy it, right, Tom? I've never looked into that. I know Tom's another tech person out there that's awesome in the world. So yeah, I would probably need to purchase the subscription for you to even be able to see it. So it's not anything that you can buy on your own. It's something that I haven't done because we haven't had a need to look years back. But yeah, let me know if there's something different. If you guys know about Discord versus Slack, if that would be beneficial for the members, and we'll take more look at it. I haven't had the time to look at that with everything else that's going on. So if you see something you guys know about that it does that Slack doesn't do, let me know and we'll entertain the idea. And with that, we'll probably call her a wrap and see you guys back here on Thursday, and trade safe. Have a good day.